Well, hi there. I'm Caleb Jones, and this is Unchained CEO, where we talk about how to set up your own location independent business that frees you from your 9 to 5 job, as well as being more internationally mobile and perhaps moving to a less bad country or setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. Today, we're going to talk about South America in general. I'm about to pull up a map of South America, and we're just going to kind of go through a whole bunch of different countries in terms of where to live. Then, if we have time, I'm going to do a separate little pivot topic on politics, our favorite topic. Yay, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk about Trump again, if we have time. Really quick, I made the decision that I'm going to stop doing live streams as a regular thing every week, where I do 2 live streams a week, one at Unchained CEO, one at Alpha Male 2.0. Instead, what I'm going to start doing is 1 live stream a month. I'm going to go back to posting just normal YouTube videos that are mid-form content. The reason for that is I started doing live streams a year or 2 ago as a time management mechanism, because what I used to do was, like most YouTubers, I would sit down and spend hours, record a bunch of videos, then I'd have to like fuck with them on my phone and then transfer them and then upload them, which takes fucking forever to upload videos. And then someone had to edit them. And then, okay. So I said, well, wait a minute. If I just do a live stream, I record right to the cloud. I don't have to upload anything. And then I'm done. So that's why I started doing live streams. Now the technology is available where I can just record directly to the cloud like I'm doing now, but do it as a recorded video and then have automation set up where it chops up the video and does all that stuff. So I don't have to do that anymore. The downside with live streams is that I have to do them at a certain time of week and day. And that is also a little difficult on my schedule. So if I can just pop open a camera whenever the fuck I feel like it and record right to the cloud, I get the benefits of recorded videos and live streams. So I'm going to start doing that probably next week or the week after and decide when I'm going to do this. I will still do Q&As and live streams on a monthly basis because I think those are important for you to interact with me. I think that's an important thing. So I'm not going to kill these completely. I'm just going to do them much less often. And I will still promote, I will do YouTube mid-form content instead. And do, so I will still do Q&As and things like this. Maybe some of them will be on YouTube, maybe some will be on Instagram. So I'll still do these things, but it won't be twice a week, every week. It'll be more like once a month. Let's see, what else I want to say about that? I guess nothing. How's the camera look? We got the good angle on that shit going on. Why does my hair look funny? Besides the fact that it's fake. I don't know. I guess it looks fine. Okay. Here we go. New video. Today, I'm going to go through pretty much the entire continent of South America and discuss which countries make the best living flags. Now, when I say living flag, that means the best country for you to live in. And when I say live, that means you spend at least 6 months a year in the country as a either primary residence or a secondary residence, 6 months a year or so, or close to it. There are many other types of flags. I'm not going to discuss those today about, dating flags or banking flags or business flags or residency flags. Not going to talk about that today. This is just about where you're going to live or spend significant amount of time in, even if you live part-time. So what I'm going to do here is bring up a map of South America, and we will just go through this. I'm just going to start at the top. This is not the Latin world, because the Latin world includes Mexico and Central America. Today I'm going to focus on South America only. So let's zoom in here. And if you're listening to the podcast version, don't worry, I will narrate. So I'm just going to start at the top. So again, for living flags, places to live, places to move to, okay? Or places to spend at least 5-6 months a year. I live in South America half the year. I'm here in Paraguay, and I love it to death. But Paraguay isn't for everybody. There are other places that might appeal to you better in the Latin world, and specifically South America. So at the top of the list here, in terms of the map, we have Colombia. Excuse me. Hang on, I need a drink of water. Hang on. Colombia. Colombia is one of the best flags in the world. Is it perfect? No. Is any country perfect? No. But Colombia is one of the best flags in the world. The lifestyle is fantastic, especially in Medellin. It is a rising country. It's rising as fast as Southeast Asia, which is crazy. The economy's improving. And as I've talked about with Colombia, when you go to Colombia, Why not Cuba? I'm talking about South America. Cuba's not in South America. Colombia, very different than Brazil and Argentina and other places. When you see chaos or infrastructure problems and things like that, a lot of countries in South America go, yeah, doesn't that suck? That's how we are here. Colombia doesn't do that. Colombia says, this is a problem. This is unacceptable. We're working on it. They try to improve. Very similar to Paraguay. They want to improve. They enjoy that. So that's good. Dating is very good in Colombia. Can't talk about dating much on this channel, but most beautiful women in the world, literally. Oh my God. So yes. And when you're talking about Colombia, you're really talking about two cities, and there are other cities too, but it's really Medellin or Bogota. Bogota is the capital. Medellin is more the lifestyle. So if lifestyle is your priority, now, as I've talked about on this channel and in Freedom Fortress in my books, everyone has a different set of priorities for where they want to move to. My list of priorities, my top 3, 4, 5 priorities of where I want to live are very different than your priorities. And it's going to be very different than your dad's, your brother's. We all have a different set of priorities. So if your priority is lifestyle, you need to look at Medellin. If your priority is business, investing, finances, you would go to Bogota. Both are very good. Both have pros and cons. One note about crime. And you're probably going to see this in the comments of this video because Americans are pussies. They're going to say, oh my God, same thing with Mexico. Don't move to Colombia. There's crime and people will kill you. I've addressed this in great detail in other videos. I will summarize this. 2 things. One, this applies to a lot of South America, but it applies to the Western world too. There are parts of major cities you don't go to, and you just don't go there. For example, you dumb Americans, those of you who live in Chicago or are from Chicago, you know there are parts of Chicago you don't go to, right? You don't go there. So then you just don't go there, and it's fine. There are parts of Chicago and many other American cities you don't go to, especially if you're white. And I know in a left-wing collapsing post-masculine culture that you people have created by voting for the lesser of 2 evils for 35 years, you're not supposed to say things like this. But again, if you live in Chicago, you know, especially if you're a white person, there are parts of Chicago you just don't go to. There are parts of Chicago that the fucking cops don't go to. So you know what those areas are, and you don't go there. It's the same thing with New York City. If you live in New York City, there are parts of New York you don't go to, right? And you know what those areas are, and you just don't go there. It's not a big fucking deal. That's the same with Guadalajara. I would live in Guadalajara in a heartbeat. Guadalajara, Mexico is amazing. My son lives there. Guadalajara, like many American cities, is a very big city that covers a lot of land. And there are parts of Guadalajara, the southeast part of it in particular, you don't go. So you just don't go there. But you don't see Americans saying, oh my God, don't move to Chicago, you'll get killed. Why do they say that? They never say that about American cities, but they'll say that about Bogota. So yes, in Colombia, Bogota in particular, but Medellin too, there are parts of the town you don't want to go to. And if you don't know where those are, you have something called Google and AI. And with these 2 tools, within 20 minutes, you can figure out very quickly where these areas are, and you just don't fucking go there. So that's number 1. Instead of just saying, oh my God, don't go to this giant city, everyone will get killed. No, you just figure out where you don't go, and you don't fucking go there. Andrew Henderson lives in Bogota. He has a house there or an apartment there regularly, and he's never had a problem. I've been to Bogota. I've been to Colombia a billion times. I have never had a problem because 2 reasons. One is I don't go to the places you're not supposed to go because I'm not a dumbass. Number 2, and I've described this in great detail in other videos. I want to go into detail, but I'll summarize it. You don't do stupid shit when you go to another country. So I've said this 10,000 times. I'm happy to say it again. It's one of my favorite statistics. I have been all over the world the past 15, 20 years, including many places that stupid Westerns think are very dangerous. Oh my God. And I have never, ever, ever, not once, not one time had a problem with crime. Not once. I've never been robbed, mugged, attacked, raped, had my head cut off by cartels. And I've been all over these countries. I have never had a problem. Why is that? Well, number 1 is I don't go to the places you're not supposed to go, the areas of town. Number 2 is I don't do stupid shit. And damn near 100% of everyone I've heard of saying, oh, I went to Colombia and they stole my iPhone. And you see a guy on YouTube, they stole my iPhone. Colombia's terrible. Yeah, because if you look at his story, he went to a place where they're not a good place to go. And he pulls out his new iPhone with his $10,000 watch. Hey, everybody, I'm a dumb American. I'm in Colombia. And of course, he gets mugged and they take his iPhone. That's fucking stupid. You don't do that. I've seen people say, Colombia's terrible. I fucked a hooker and she stole my wallet the next morning. Why did you spend the night with some random hooker in Colombia? That's stupid. You're a dumb shit. You don't do that. I've never done that. And sex is kind of something I do a lot of. I don't do those stupid things. Why are you doing stupid things, you dumb shit? Here's another one. Colombia or any third world or second world or Latin American country, it's not just Colombia, is terrible because I went there once and I was at a bar and I got drunk at 2 a.m. and on the way home I got Why did you go to a bad part of town in Latin America at 2 a.m. and get fucking drunk? You're stupid. I've never done these things. So shockingly, I've never had a problem. If you don't do stupid shit, nothing bad will happen to you. And it's not about Latin America. It's about any country that is non-Western. You would never go to Singapore, the opposite of Latin America, first world on steroid, like Dubai. You would never go to Singapore and walk down the sidewalk eating a McDonald's, eating a cheeseburger, and you have all this paper, right? And you walk past two Singaporean cops and you take the trash and go, just throw it on the sidewalk and walk past the cops. They'll crack your head open because you're stupid. Do I think it's good that they throw you in jail or fine you because of trash and things? No, I'm a libertarian minarchist. I think I'm totally against that. Not relevant what my opinion is. Non-Western countries are different than Western countries. And there's a statement, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So you would never go to Singapore and do that, would you? Because that's stupid. Well, it's the same. You wouldn't go to fucking Bogota and go to the worst parts of town at 2 a.m. and get drunk and bang hookers and then be shocked when someone steals your iPhone. Dumbass. So keep that in mind because I know you're going to see comments in this video. Oh my God, Caleb says go to there. Don't ever go to there. I read a scary article that I was there and I was really scared. Don't go where you're not supposed to go. Don't do anything stupid. You'll never have a problem. Okay? All right. So Bogota, highly recommended. Now, one thing, Colombia, I should say. One thing about Colombia is it's like Mexico. If you stay there more than 6 months a year, there are some taxes that can kick in. So be aware of that. I can't give you tax advice in this channel. Hire someone and figure that out. If you're there more, and maybe there's ways around it, maybe you're not, etc. All right. All right. Venezuela. Venezuela is going to be great in about 5 years. Right now, it's not a good idea to go there. Do I know Westerners who are hanging out in Venezuela and liking it? Yes. The women are amazingly beautiful, just like the Colombians. Yes, yes, yes. Dangerous, a lot of chaos. Don't recommend it unless you are very adventurous and you are an advanced level world traveler. Then maybe fine. Then you have these 3 little countries, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. I don't recommend any of those for living flags. Very low-end countries, very small countries, not a lot of infrastructure, nothing really exciting there. They did discover a lot of oil recently in Suriname, and so there's a bunch of American money pouring in there, but still not a good thing. Do not recommend any of those for flags. Let's go over here to Ecuador. Good. Ecuador is on the lower end of the economic scale, not quite as low as Paraguay, but not as bad as like Bolivia and places like, French Guiana. Quiet, kind of boring place. A lot of people go there to retire. I know a lot of people who are there and they like it. Not super exciting, but very cheap. So Ecuador, sure. Peru. I don't know a lot about Peru. Peru has Lima, which is a huge city, millions of people. It's a very popular place. Peru is one of those places where everyone I know who's there like it. I have never been there. I have very little information, but I know it's a hot spot and people do like Peru. I have heard very few negatives of Peru. So mild recommendation from me. Then we go to Brazil. Brazil. As I've said many times, Brazil and Argentina are the world's crazy psychotic uncle. So Brazil and Argentina are places with a lot of adventure, a lot of fun, a lot of chaos. And they like it that way. The Brazilians especially, and the Argentinians to a degree, are the opposite of Colombia and Paraguay. When they have problems and chaos, they go, yeah, isn't that fun? We're crazy. They kind of like it. It's part of the culture. Now, if you're a young guy, want to go to a lot of parties, get laid, have a great time, where's the party? Brazil. Go there. Be careful. Lots of crime, lots of chaos, lots of infrastructure problems, lots of civil unrest, a lot of political bullshit going on down there. There's a strong right-wing contingent like Trumpy people. There's a strong woke contingent in Brazil that's growing and growing. All kinds of chaos. I would not have any money. If you decide to use Brazil as a living flag, don't keep any money in Brazil. Same thing with Argentina. Don't keep any money there. All your money should be in safe places like Dubai, not fucking Brazil. But if you want to live there, younger guy, want more adventure, you're okay with chaos and problems and chaos. Great. I'm 53. I don't want chaos. I'm an older man. But if you're a younger guy, great. Hot girls, fun people, fun culture. Brazil, they do not speak Spanish. They speak Portuguese. And my understanding is the time I've spent in Brazil and people I know, I'm very close to Brazil here in Paraguay, they actually prefer English to Spanish. They get offended. They don't like Spanish speakers. They prefer to speak English. Are there a lot of people speak English in Brazil? Enough. More than Paraguay, places like that. Bolivia, very low end. Bolivia is the lowest end country, I think, economically in South America. Do not recommend it. There's just not a lot of benefits of living in Bolivia, I guess, unless you have family or something there. So I do not recommend Bolivia. Don't hate it, but I don't recommend it. Did I miss anybody? Paraguay. Obviously, I like Paraguay a lot. I live here half the year. I love Paraguay. Is Paraguay for everybody? No. Paraguay is one of the lower end countries in terms of economics and infrastructure in South America. It's not as bad as Bolivia, but it's pretty low. The infrastructure here is just enough to function. But if you want infrastructure, then you would go somewhere like Uruguay, which we'll cover in a minute. Like, they don't have Amazon here. If you're like, no Amazon, I can't stand that. Well, then you wouldn't come to Paraguay. I've talked a lot about Paraguay. I need to go detail about this. Quiet. There's no, if you want party and night game and day game and parties and having a great time, Paraguay is going to bore the shit out of you. That's not what Paraguay is for. Paraguay is more like Ecuador, sleepy, quiet, boring. If you want it, even people in Paraguay, if you want to have a party, you go to Sao Paulo, which is in Brazil. You go to Buenos Aires, which is in Argentina. There's nothing to fucking do in Paraguay. But if you want a very cheap, quiet place that is very, very safe from the collapse of the Western world and very, very safe from the AI takeover, that's why I have Paraguay. It's great. Dating is good, but it's a certain type of woman that not all men will like. All right. Then we go down to Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Argentina is very similar to Brazil. Mass chaos all the time. And no, the new president who is libertarian is not going to save Argentina. I don't know why you people keep thinking he's going to save Argentina, just like Trump's going to make America great again. Okay, no, Malay's a great guy. He's not going to save Argentina. Argentina is fucked. Okay, now, same thing. Am I saying don't live in Argentina? I'm not saying that. If you don't mind a whole bunch of chaos, okay, if you don't mind that, it's fun. And it's got a lot of culture too, like Brazil. Buenos Aires is one of the funnest, coolest cities in the world. It's fascinating. It's a great place to hang out. Would I live there? No, too much chaos, but I'm an old man and maybe you're not. But if you don't mind chaos, if you don't mind going to a convenience store in Buenos Aires and you get some candy bars or whatever, some food for that night, and you go to the checkout line and the line is all the way back to the end of the store and you're going to sit there and wait for half an hour just to get your fucking eggs and candy bars, and you don't mind those kinds of problems, read the article I did when I flew in there the first time at the airport. The experience I had at the fucking airport, chaos, just insane. But very cool place, very cool people. Very exciting place, very interesting place. A lot of people speak English. They're white. Those of you who are racist and want to, only hang out with white people, they're white. They're whitey-whiteys down there. They're skinny. They're not overweight. A lot of English speakers. A lot of chaos. So it's a cool place. Again, if you use Argentinians. If you use Argentina as a living flag, same with Brazil, do not keep any money there. Don't start any corporations there. Fuck no. Paraguay, you can. Uruguay, you definitely can. Not in Argentina. Keep all your money way far away from Argentina and Brazil. You don't want one penny of your money other than, day-to-day stuff. I guess it would be okay. So just be aware of that. But Buenos Aires is cool. Cool place. Now we have Chile. Chile was the hot spot for expats about 15 years ago. That was the cool place everyone was going to about 10, 15 years ago. Their government made a bunch of changes. It's not as cool as it used to be, but it's still pretty cool. Chile is on the higher end of the economic scale. It's almost to Uruguay. Uruguay's at the top. So pretty cool. You got a lot of cool nature in Santiago, Chile. So if you're a nature person, you like mountains and beaches and cool places like that, Chile's pretty awesome. I've never been there. I don't know. I just every time I try to go there, something comes up and I can't go there. So I've been down this part of this world for years. I've never gotten over to fucking Santiago, but people like it. It's not as cheap as other places. So if cost of living is a big priority, you don't want to go to Chile. So Chile has like little bits and pieces of good and little bits and pieces of bad. So it's not a bad flag. It's one of those things that if you're curious, I would go to Santiago, spend a week there, see if you like it. All right. Lastly, we have Uruguay. Awesome. The number one infrastructure and economic status in all of South America by far. The GDP per capita for Uruguay, I think, is like $23,000 a year. It's number one. And then the next lowest, I think, is Chile, which is like $16,000 a year. So it's Uruguay is extremely on the extreme end for South America, or for Latin American standards, on the high end of the economic scale. All the infrastructure you want. If Paraguay just seems too rough for you, but you like everything else of Paraguay, Uruguay. Go to Uruguay. Montevideo specifically, that's the city you want to hang out in. They call it the Switzerland of South America because it is. You can get residency there. You got to live there to get residency. You can good banks. You can start companies down there, do banking down there, easy transfers to Western countries. You have things like Amazon and normal shipping there, unlike Paraguay, you have any of that stuff. It's not as cheap, not nearly as cheap. So again, if cost of living is your number one thing, don't go to Uruguay. It's not nearly as cheap as Paraguay and other places. I mean, I think even Argentina is cheaper than Uruguay because the more infrastructure you've got, the more expensive shit tends to be. It's still cheaper in the United States. Uruguay is still cheaper in the U.S. So as I keep saying to you guys, I can't afford to leave the U.S. You can't afford to stay in the U.S. This is one of the highest places, cost of living in the world. What the fuck are you doing? Canada, Western Europe, Australia, okay? So if you're a cost of living guy, get the fuck out of the clap. What are you doing still doing in the United States? So stupid. Montevideo, let's zoom in on this here. Montevideo is the main city where you'll probably be living. That's why Doug Casey is there, things like that. Not super exciting. It's okay. There's some party stuff in Montevideo, but not a lot for you younger guys. But here's the thing about Montevideo. Here's the beauty of living in Uruguay, which again, I like Uruguay a lot. 3 hours, you're 3 hours by boat from Buenos Aires, which is fucking awesome. You just spend the weekend in Buenos Aires. You're 2 hours away by car to Punta del Este, which is one of the best beach resorts in the world. Awesome. So it's a really good spot. The boat ride is about 3 hours, Montevideo to Buenos Aires across the Gulf here. And I've taken it a few times, and it's like a few dollars because it's cheap. And what's hilarious is that the water at certain times of the year is brown. So you're in the middle of the ocean with waves and stuff. You're in the ocean, but it's brown. You're like, this is so weird. It's not pollution. It's literally dirt. It's because of you're in this Gulf right here. It has something to do with, I don't know, I'm not a weather person, but it's fascinating. So Montevideo, you get 3 cities for the price of one. You get Montevideo, stable city. You get Punta del Este, which is 2 hours away, amazing beach. And you get Buenos Aires, which is one of the coolest cities on earth. And you have all your fun over there. So that's what I would do. If I live in Montevideo, I would weekend in Buenos Aires every weekend. And that'd just be where I would hang out, have fun, enjoy myself, and then go back to Montevideo to work. Pretty cool. What else can I say about this? Did I miss any countries? I don't think so. Yeah. I strongly recommend South America for you trying to escape the collapsing West for numerous reasons. Cost of living, stability, as long as you don't go, you're not supposed to go and do anything stupid. Many rising economies, some not rising, some bouncing around, but many rising economies. Some places much more safe from the collapse of the West by far, especially places like Paraguay and Bolivia, although I don't recommend Bolivia, where you're just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, no one cares about you. Places like Colombia, very safe from war. There's jungles and mountains. They're never driving any tanks anywhere into Bogota or Medellin. Yeah, they can't. So also really cool culture, friendly people, really good food. The meat down here, holy shit, so good. And it's cheaper. So it's win-win-win all over the place. Highly recommend South America. And here's my standard advice. If any of these places turn you on, here's the model you follow. You plan out a week stay in one city. One city, if any of these countries you like, you pick the best city, do some research. You have Google and AI. You can figure it out, okay? And you have lots of other resources. You got my channel, all my stuff. Pick a city that you're interested in. You go there for a week. And while you're there, pretend like you live there. Don't stay in a hotel and do all the touristy shit. You can do some touristy stuff. Don't stay in the hell and go to restaurants all the fucking time. Get an Airbnb, and at least for some of the meals you have, go to the grocery store and buy food and bring it home and cook it like you actually live there. And pretend you live there and see if you like it. And if you love it, make it your flag. Great. If you hate it, go to the next city. But at least a week. Don't go there for 2 or 3 days and go, this is great or this sucks. That doesn't work. 1 week. Cool? Cool. All right. End of video. Hang on, I got to center myself. I got to meditate. I'm just going to meditate. I should do a video where I just meditate. Hey guys, I'm going to meditate. You know what? I'm tempted to do that now. I just sit and meditate for 20 minutes because most of you can't even sit still for 1 minute. Watch how it's done. Watch how you can sit down and focus and just breathe for 20 minutes, which 99% of Westerners can't do anymore. New video. I'm going to tell you today, if you are on the right or Trump supporter or TradCon or conservative or Republican, why you will never defeat the left in the Western world and why you will never defeat woke people in the Western world. And as usual, if this pisses you off, I know it's hard, try to think rationally, factually, and objectively. I am not right and I am not left. I am a minarchist libertarian. I'm a real one, so I'm against both of these philosophies. And I have been for my whole life, so I can be kind of objective and rational about this. When Trump was reelected last year, and again, as always, if I say anything negative about Trump and the first thing out of your mouth is Kamala would have been worse, you just prove my point about how stupid you are of why are you still living in the United States and why are you still voting in these elections? If this person is so terrible, you had to vote for that person because the other person's even worse. What the fuck are you doing in the United States? What the fuck are you doing voting in these elections? So if you say Kamala would have been worse, well, he was the better of two evils, you're proving to me how stupid you are. All right. With that out of the way, here's how this works. People on the right. Now, I'm going to say the word right because the right no longer exists in the Western world. The right-wing conservative movement was defeated about 15 years ago, around 2010. Rush Limbaugh said at the time, he got on the radio and said, conservatism in America has failed. Republicans, what we call Republicans and right-wingers, are for huge government and think it's great. The typical Trump supporters today, if Donald Trump came out and said, I'm going to have the government now pay for all of your health care, the vast majority of people who support Trump would be like, yay, because Trump supporters are left-wing socialists. They are not woke. They are against things like feminism and Hillary Clinton. Yes, but they are left. But so instead of calling them the right, I'm going to call them Trump supporters, which is typically what I've been doing the last few years. The difference between Trump supporters, TradCons, Republicans, and things like that is they view this as left versus right. We are on the right. Again, the right doesn't exist, but I'll call them right. We are on the right. And they are on the left, and we are correct and they are wrong. That's how you view the world if you are a Trump supporter or in that zone. I didn't vote for Trump, but yeah, but you're still kind of a right-wing guy. You get my point. The left doesn't feel that way. That is not how the left views it. The left doesn't say, we are the left and they are the conservative right. That's not how they view it. I have spent most of my life, unfortunately, in Portland, Oregon, one of the most left-wing cities in the Western world. I know a lot about how left-wingers work. I know a lot about how they think. And I have a lot of experiences. Most of my family are hard left people. I grew up in a hard left city. I know all about this. Left-wingers, and this is going to be hard for you to understand if you're a right-winger or Trump supporter. Left-wingers don't view this as we are the left and they are the right. That's why you almost never see left-wing political people on the internet saying, well, I'm a left-wing woke person. They never say that. Well, we on the left, they rarely say that. The closest they'll say to that is, I'm a progressive. And the reason they say that is to differentiate themselves from other people on the left, not to differentiate themselves from people on the right. When they say, I'm a progressive, like people on the Young Turks, They're saying that to differentiate themselves from the corporatist left, like the Hillary Clinton types. They're not saying it to say, I'm progressive, not like those Trump people. That's not why they're saying it. People on the left, their view is we are normal. We are the 80% of normal people. Those MAGA people are the weird, psychotic, horrible racists, or the evil capitalists who don't care about women and poor people. They don't say left. We are the normal people who have compassion for people and care about people and believe in equality. These MAGA motherfuckers are these terrible, awful, racist type people. So it's not we are left and they are right. It's we are the norm and they are the anomaly. That's how left-wingers view the world. This is why you can't defeat the left. They consider themselves normal and they consider themselves the vast majority. I'll give you several examples of this. A few years ago, shortly ago, they made a new He-Man cartoon. Hollywood spent a lot of money, millions of dollars, very expensive animation studio. They hired, A-list actors, and they did a new He-Man show that was supposed to appeal to men in their 30s and 40s. It didn't appeal to those men, I'll tell you in a second, but it was supposed to appeal to men in their 30s and 40s who watched He-Man when they were the kids in the 80s, right? Now, many of you already know what happened here. You followed that story. If you didn't follow it, let me tell you what happened. The show had a bunch of commercials and a bunch of trailers, and people were like, wow, this looks really good, because the animation was very good. Like, this looks fucking great. And they put Kevin Smith in charge of it. Kevin Smith, one of the biggest tragedies of pop culture, very similar to Howard Stern. People like Kevin Smith, Howard Stern, have become exactly what they used to make fun of in the 90s. It's very sad. They are now the left-wing corporate shills that they used to make fun of, and that's how they got popular. Anyway, story for another time. So Kevin Smith was placed in charge of it. It all looked great. The show came out on Netflix, I think. It was 10 episodes. He-Man was not in the show. He had a few minutes of the first episode, a few minutes at the final 10th episode. The entire show was about a muscular girl boss named Tila, who was a Mary Sue. And I'm not joking, and her female, black, mostly lesbian partner. That's what the show was about. It wasn't even about He-Man. It was a He-Man show, not about He-Man. It was all about girl boss. It was all about this woke bullshit. Typical bullshit you've seen 1,000 times and we'll keep seeing, and no, Trump won't fix it. It was extreme. So I unfortunately, I saw some of these episodes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I guess I could believe it. One episode was all the main characters, they had this scene where they all had to confront their fears. And there was like this monster who was like making them see their fears and stuff. So the fear of the main girl boss Mary Sue character was she's awesome and she wouldn't let herself be awesome enough. That was her fear. And I know a little bit of writing fiction. I do it for fun. Fears make characters three-dimensional. You can't just say my character is perfect at everything. Even at the end, who is the villain in He-Man? Skeletor. Skeletor is barely in it. Who ended up being the main villain of this TV show? Evil Lynn, the female villain. Now, that's not the problem. Yeah, that is the problem, but that's not what was interesting. What was very interesting to me is that, of course, everyone screamed and ranted and hated the whole show. Of course they did. Kevin Smith, who was in charge of this, who is a left-winger, and again, he doesn't walk around saying, I'm a left-wing woke person. He walks around like most lefters saying, I'm normal and typical. I'm the normal person who believes in feminine equality and female rights and transgender and being compassionate and right. Okay. He was shocked that people didn't like this He-Man TV, this left-wing, hard left woke He-Man TV show that didn't have He-Man in it. He was completely confused as to why people didn't like this. And he was like, I don't understand this. This is a great show. We spent a lot of time on the show. This is a well-written, well-acted, well-animated show. It's a great show. He was bewildered as to why people wouldn't like that. Why? Because, well, Caleb, he's in a bubble. Yes, that's also true. But it's more than left-wingers in a bubble. You fucking Trump supporters are in your own bubbles. That's the problem with the internet. You're all in your own little bubbles. Stupid. It's more that left-wingers are in a bubble. It's that they consider themselves normal. And so if you are not normal, they are confused. And if you followed the story, what he ended up doing is he talked to one of his best friends, and as one of his best friends said, just ignore all the comments that are negative and focus on the 10% of comments that are positive. There's always a 10%, 15% segment of the far left people on the internet who like shows like the acolyte. They think it's great. So he would pay. So that's what he did. He ignored all the negative comments and just focused on the small percentage that said, this is a great show. He's like, yay. Same exact thing when She-Hulk came out a few years ago. Marvel was bewildered that people didn't like a show about a girl boss who was a far left girl boss who hated men, and the entire show was about how toxic masculinity is bad. And they were like, do people not agree why are people disagreeing with us do they think that toxic masculinity is good? This doesn't make any sense. They don't understand why people do this unless they're fucking racists and they're horrible people. And when things happen like Trump winning an election, they don't say, oh, it's because 50% of the country is right and we are 50% on the left. That's not how they view it. What they view it as, we are the 80% normal people, and the evil, horrible racists and evil billionaires and capitalists and rich people who hate poor people and hate women and hate teachers and hate unions, those people have convinced a lot of the normal people and lied to them that their way is the best way, when in fact they're not. And that's how Trump got elected. It's an anomaly. The entire reason Trump got elected is an anomaly to these people. That's why you can't defeat these people. A. B, as I've said many times, the vast majority of you Trump supporters, tradcons, etc., are also on the left. You're not a right-wing conservative. You're not for small government. You think UBI would be a pretty good idea. You think government paying for healthcare would be a pretty good idea. You are a big government leftist who hates wokeism. That's still another version of left. So as I've said many times, the United States and the entire rest of the Western world is not left versus right. It's a gigantic conglomeration of different versions of left. You have the Trump left, you have the progressive left, you have the corporatist left, all these different versions of big governments all fighting each other. It's for these reasons that you can't stop this. You can fantasize all you want about Trump will fix this, and if we just vote for Republicans, this and that and this. How's that worked out since 2016? Did Trump make America great again? Did he build a wall? Did he bring the manufacturing jobs back? Did he defeat the woke? Are there no more woke movies coming out anymore? This is why. Instead of focusing on politics, a game you cannot win, a game you have, to a large degree, already lost. You need to focus in on yourself. And if you have it, your inner circle, your family. Focus on those. Get your location independent business started so you don't need to rely on corporate America or a job or be worried about AI taking your job. Then, at a minimum, set up an international backup plan so when, not if, when the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Australia collapses, you have somewhere to go. Even better, get the fuck out of the collapsing Western world, which I did 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago now, and I haven't regretted it. I'm very happy since then. So now this isn't your problem anymore. That's what you need to do. End video. Okay. Let's answer some questions. I need help getting Paraguay residency. Go to bosscooperative.com and we will help you. I do not answer any women questions on this channel. I was checking Reddit and a bunch of people got robbed in Mexico. You are exactly the type of person I'm talking about. I read a thing online that said people got robbed. So don't ever go to Mexico. You're done. Where in Brazil do you recommend? I'm thinking about checking out the north, like Recife. I don't know how to say that. Well, so when you're talking about Brazil, let's bring up the map again. Most of what's going on in Brazil is in the south. I know very little about the north. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not the guy to ask about Brazil. I got a lot of Brazil buddies. So you're really talking about the south. North, I don't know. Especially north of Brasilia, there's not much there. So I don't know the answer to that question. I would just do your own research. Don't know. It's not a radical, well, it is a radical difference. My understanding is the northern culture is a little less insane and crazy and a little less Portuguese than the south. I think that's correct. I'm not sure about that. But the vast majority of the population lives in the south. So good question. Don't know. How convenient is it to purchase consumer electronics in Paraguay and other Latin American countries? You can't say Paraguay and other Latin American countries. In Mexico, it's easy. In Paraguay, it's hard. You can't say Paraguay and other Latin American countries. Paraguay, you get the basics here and that's it. If you need anything else, you have to do a drop ship from Amazon. They have services here. I use them where you order stuff from Amazon or something in America or Uruguay, other countries that have more infrastructure, and you send it to a forwarding address in Miami, and then they forward it down here. So it takes about 10 days. You pay an extra fee. That's what you have to do in Paraguay. You can also, in Paraguay, go to Ciudad del Este, where they have a lot more electronics there, and they're really cheap. But it's a 6-hour drive. You're going to get in the car and drive for 6 hours? I'm not. If you want adventure, sure. Other countries, easy. Uruguay is easier. Mexico is very easy. Panama, everything you want. So it depends on the country. Argentina got retardedly expensive right now. $20 for fast food and burger and fries. You think it'll get cheap again? Yes. Argentina goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down forever. So it'll get cheap again, and then it'll get expensive again. Then it'll get cheap again, then it'll and again, they kind of like it that way. They're insane. Argentinians and Brazilians are insane. And I don't say that as a insult in this case. I say it as it's a cultural thing. They're crazy. They think it's funny. But they get that's how it is here. We do great, then we collapse our economies. Then we do great again, and then we destroy our currency. Then we do great, then we have a coup. And then it's just what they do. It's just part of the culture. What kind of consumer? Oh, you're talking to someone else. What separates Mexicans from Paraguayans as far as their personalities go? Mexicans are the typical fiery Latinas. Very emotional, very passionate, very fiery. Paraguayans are the chill Latinas. So they're still Latina, but they're much less emotional, much less fiery, and less passionate. They're a little more even keel and calm and boring. Very big difference. And Paraguayan women look nothing like Mexican women at all. They look nothing alike at all. What's wrong with Paraguayan women? Nothing. I didn't say there was something wrong with them. That's not what I said, philosophy coaching. You're saying a lot of crazy shit, philosophy coaching. Can you make an episode on how you specifically use AI to improve your business and lower costs? I have an entire thing coming on about that in about a week. Stay tuned. Aussie here living in Asuncion and love it. Cool. Spent 3 months in Colombia this year and couldn't wait to get back to Paraguay. Oh, you didn't like Colombia. Okay. All right. I like Colombia. Buenos Aires has the best dating in all the Americas, in my opinion. There are many men who say this. I am not into Argentinian women. I think they're too tall and too skinny. I don't like tall, skinny girls. I like skinny, but I like curvy. But there are definitely gorgeous women in Argentina. Absolutely. Yes, I can't give you details, but yes. So yes, check it out. Yeah, if you like, again, culture, dating, lifestyle, Buenos Aires is amazing. Amazing. If you're an older guy who wants more, relaxed stuff, don't live there and just visit there. Or like I said, best of both worlds, Montevideo, Uruguay, and then go to Buenos Aires and go back to sanity. I think that's the best scenario. Really, I do. For a lot of you guys, I think you really enjoy living in Uruguay, and then you pop over to Punta del Este for the beach stuff and pop over to Buenos Aires whenever you want. I think that's awesome. American expat in Asuncion here. Cool. I love it too. So peaceful. Very peaceful in Asuncion. Yes. How's the day game, night game, Asuncion? Poor. You can do it, but it's poor. That's not where you go to Asuncion. You go to Sao Paulo, go to Rio, go to Buenos Aires. Then you'll have all you can handle. Obesity in Paraguay, there is virtually none. That's an American thing and a Mexican thing. Okay, you're asking about girl stuff. I'm skipping all the girl stuff. Free stuff is simply too enticing for lazy people in the West. Correct, and that includes Trump supporters and people who call themselves Republicans and conservatives. Back in the 90s, when conservatives were real, you actually had real conservatives. They didn't want free stuff. They didn't want government doing stuff. Today's right loves big government. They think it's fucking great. They don't like wokeism. They love big government. Why do you think I don't live in the collapsed United States anymore? Do you need residency in South American countries to buy real estate? Depends on the country. That's a very broad question. That's like 20 different countries. Every country has different rules. Depends on the country. You are a legend with your explanation of the far left. Oh, thank you. I love spending spring in Buenos Aires, summer in Patagonia, and autumn, winter in Asuncion. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yep. It's very hot in the American winter in Paraguay. So that's why I'm not here. I'm in Dubai. But yeah, cool. I'm in a shithole country, South Africa. Well, yeah, and getting worse. Yes. Caleb, I just closed my first 10K per month client. Fantastic. Nick D, fantastic. And it feels surreal that it's actually possible. So I want you all to pay attention to this, especially watch the recording of this. There's a guy in the chat, Nick D, who just closed his first $10,000 a month client. That's one client. That's $120,000 here from one client. That's what you can do with the processes I talk about. Alpha 2.0 business, 90-day business builder. That's exactly what you can pull off. One client and you can quit your job. Maybe. It's doable. Right, Nick? It's great. What would you focus on to get the silent client ASAP? What did you do to get the first one? Same thing. And the first one, you need to put in the contracts that you want referrals within the first 30 days from the first one. So that do what you were still doing. Keep marketing. Don't stop marketing. It's called deal flow. Then in your current client, your goal is to get 2 or 3 really good referrals from the current client within the first 30 days. And you might very easily grab a second one right off as a referral. Referrals are easy to close. Referrals are great. How common is fiber optic internet in Paraguay and a price for 100 megabit connection, for example? I have it here in Villa Mora, Asuncion. How much is it? Cheap. I think I pay $27 a month for mine. I have high speed internet here. Cheap as fuck. Cheap as fuck. How much more expensive is Paraguay than you say Uruguay is? That's a very broad question. Billy has more information on that than I do. What did Billy say? Paraguay is 1/8 the price of the US and Uruguay is about 50% the price of the US. I think that's a good estimate. There are lots of websites that will give you estimate price differences on various things like rent, food, gasoline, auto, entertainment. So you can do your own research, but that's roughly. So you'll save 50% if you move to Uruguay from the United States. You'll save what? 80, 90% if you come to Paraguay. Yeah. So Uruguay is still cheaper than the United States. If you are in the West, you are in the most expensive place in the goddamn world. So you can move just about anywhere and save money, including fucking Dubai. When the maids come to clean my apartment in Dubai, they spend 3 hours. It cost me $68 US. That would cost me $300, $400, $500 US. So even Dubai is cheaper. When I have someone come over to my apartment to give me a massage, yes, a real massage, get your head out of your ass. A real massage, 90 minutes, it costs me, what does it cost me? About the same, $60. That would cost me $300 in the United States. So if you live in the collapsing USA, you morons, going anywhere, you'll save money. And then you'll pay less taxes, even if you're American, because of FEIE. Or if you're not American, you don't pay taxes anymore. You can come to Paraguay or Uruguay. Uruguay is Uruguay's territorial tax. If your money comes from outside the country, 0 tax. Or Dubai, 0 tax. All you dumbasses say, I can't afford to leave. You can't afford to stay. You say that America could have been saved years ago, but it will now hopelessly collapse. Correct. What could have been done to save America that isn't possible anymore? That's a very broad answer. It would take me about 10 minutes to describe all that. Radical changes in the government, radical changes in government spending, and some changes in the culture going back to the 90s. So that window closed around George W. Bush in 2001 and 9/11. That America was fucked. In the 90s, you could have turned this shit around. Would have been hard. You could have done it. Ross Perot could have done it. In the 80s, you could have turned some of this shit around. Yeah. A lot of things. That's a list of like 10 different things. Regarding the transition concept you shared yesterday, I noticed that the majority of your life transitions happen after age 40. Do you know why is that? No. And we all follow different paths. Sometimes you go through it in your 20s. Sometimes you go through it in your 30s. Sometimes you go through it in your 40s. Sometimes you go through it in your 50s. There are men who, get divorced in their mid to late 50s and have to hear this huge transition, and that's the way it goes. We all follow different paths. Just saw a meme that's a picture of Argentina's women hockey team, and it's all white chicks, and it says Argentina is the whitest country in the Americas. That's correct. Well, in South America. Argentina is the whitest country in the Latin world. That is accurate. But Brazil is pretty white, southern Brazil. Paraguay is 50% white. Chile is not white. So there you go. So that's accurate. They are white in Argentina. They're whitey whiteys. Tall, skinny white girls. South Africa, search YouTube videos for a walking tour of Cape Town or Buenos Aires, whenever you see a city when you want to experience. Okay. I'm in Buenos Aires right now. Cool. And here the women are very fit. Yes. If you like fit women, Buenos Aires. If you like the fit look or the skinnier look, you will be in heaven in Argentina. My God. When the first time I was like, God damn, these are the skinniest, fittest women I've seen in my entire fucking life. Taller, white, pretty, or average sevens. Yeah. Yep. If you like Spanish, Italian looking women who are fit and athletic, you'll love Buenos Aires for dating. That is absolutely correct. Do the women in Guadalajara look like tortas? Okay, we got to stop talking about girls on this channel. Shut up. How long do we expect our transitions to last? Any specific guidelines? No, because every transition is different. 6 months to 3 years is a wide, broad thing. It depends the transition, depends what it is. You have mental transitions, you have physical health transitions, you have relationship transitions, you have business transitions, you have five flags. They're all different. So I can't tell you. I don't know. 6 months? Most of them are a year, but mine could be 3 years plus. Thanks for opening my eyes and red pilling me about Trump. I used to be a right winger and obsessed with Trump. Well, cool, good. Most Trump supporters can't think rationally. Really quick about Trump supporters. What does Tony Robbins say is the most important skill in life? Tony Robbins, who would know something about this, what does he say is the single most important skill in life? Does anyone know? You know? What's his most important skill? Recognizing patterns. He's right. The most important skill in life. He's right about that. If you're a Trump supporter or a right winger or tradcon or red pill or whatever you want to call yourself, anti-woke or anti-SJW, there's 10,000 names to these things, because there are lots of people on the quote Trump right who don't literally vote for Trump. They say, well, I don't vote for Trump, but you're on the right. You hate the woke left, and you hate Hillary. And okay. The problem with you guys is you have been for 35 years voting for the shitty, lying, incompetent Republican because the Democrat's worse. And then you do that and your country gets worse. Then you vote for the shitty, lying, incompetent Republican because the Democrat's worse. And then you do that and your country gets worse again. You're like, fuck. Then on the next election, you vote for the shitty, lying, incompetent Republican. And it doesn't matter who the person's name. It could be Donald Trump. It could be John McCain. It could be Mitt Romney. It could be George W. Bush. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. And then your country gets worse and country gets worse. And you don't recognize the pattern because you've lost your fucking mind. You're like, you don't. You Americans, and the left is just as bad about this. This is an American thing, not a right or left thing. You never go, I keep voting for the lesser of two evils and my country gets worse every fucking 5 years. Maybe I should stop doing this and do something else. Americans can't do that because they've all lost their goddamn minds, which is part of a collapsing culture. Have you tried Yoruba? No, I don't know what that is. If I have $350K and some passive income, $500, can I retire in Paraguay and work on my business? You can live in Paraguay, $500 USD. Yes, absolutely. You won't live great, but you could personally live on here. You bet. How long do you think for Argentina to get cheap again? Several years. How do you strategize when first getting into asset protection? What are the basics? Depends on your scenario, how much money you have. Depends on your net worth and where you're willing to go. And there's a lot of variables. It's not something I can just answer a simple question. You can do asset protection in your home country, and you can do asset protection internationally. It's more complicated and more expensive to do it internationally, but it is superior. We do a meetup in Asuncion in the next 2 weeks. I have one plan for this Sunday, but I don't have the report yet. We might not have enough people signed up for it, which means I will cancel it. So yes, if you're on my mailing list, we already talked about this. Go on my mailing list. You won't get my emails. The answer is yes. But if not a lot of people sign up, I'm going to cancel it and refund people's money. And I think I might do that for Sunday. I don't know. So it's not looking good. Last time I looked at the numbers. Trump is absolutely useless, an absolute joke of a president. Correct. Let's see here. I lost my place in the chat. Okay, a few more minutes and I got to go. Do I have to pay taxes in the U.S. if I live in Paraguay? Not if you make under $130,000 a year, no. And there's nothing right-wing about Trump. He's a Democrat. Correct. In terms of government size and growth, yes. But that's all Republican. That's not just Trump. Romney was the same. George W. Bush was the same. John McCain was the same. I mean, they're all Republicans love big government, and they have for decades. That's why you're insane if you vote for Republicans trying to save your country when the biggest reason your country is collapsing is it spends too much money. So if the biggest reason your country is collapsing, it spends too much money in the government, you don't vote for Trump, who we know for a fact was one of the biggest big spending presidents in human history the first time around. You're insane. And if you say Kamala would have been worse, you just proved my point, how stupid you are. What are your favorite cold outreach methods in this chaotic AI environment where decision makers are next to impossible to get on the phone DM? That's not true. That is only true of certain niches and certain sizes of companies. So it depends on your niche. And can you make a sale to someone else who is not the CEO of the company? So you sit down and analyze the niche. What is in this niche? What are easier ways to get to the decision makers? A really good book for this is Bag the Elephant by Kaplan, which you should read. Trump is just a big spending, big state, end of civilization, Caesar wannabe. That's pretty accurate. Would you say it's true that the most AI resistant industry to pick your niches is healthcare? No, I would not say that at all. There's a lot of healthcare niches that will be threatened by AI and not that won't. No, if you want the most resistant industry to AI, it's something people do with their hands, like roofers and plumbers and shit like that, not healthcare. No. I've heard there are many ways to not get taxed and foreign income in Brazil. Yes. Do you have any resources on this? No. Reach out to Vincenzo, who I've had on this channel several times. And he's not cheap, though, so I don't know how much money you make. What's your number one tip for someone who currently is in transition in his life? Keep going and manage your emotions. Don't quit and manage your emotions as you go. That's it. Those are the two. Don't quit. Don't be a puss. Keep going and manage your emotions. Sleep, meditation, diet, sex, testosterone. If you're a man, drink lots of water, affirmations, manage yourself. That's it. Those are the two. Those are the only two you need. What was your niche in healthcare? I don't discuss that publicly. How to do how to do consulting location independently? Too broad of a question. Are there language barrier apps for Paraguay? Yeah, it's called Google Translate. I use it every day. I didn't get the email and I'm on the mailing list. We sent out an email 2 weeks ago saying, if you are interested in Paraguay emails, click this link and opt in, because I don't want to bug the entire list of thousands upon thousands of people who are never going to go to Paraguay about Paraguay events. So you should have gotten that email. If you didn't, then A, check your spam. B, send us an email at theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com and ask us to be put on the Paraguay mailing list. I have a well-paying remote job which requires very little work. Next step for me is 90-day business builder. That should be the next step for you no matter what. No matter what. Having a job is like having cancer. Well, but it's a remote job and requires very little work. Okay, you have less cancer than someone who's dying of cancer. Still have cancer. You don't want to keep that job forever, do you? AI is going to wipe your ass out. And if you're an American or anywhere in the West, your country is collapsing. So yes, that's your next step, of course. All right, a few more questions. The Australian government approved capital gains tax on unrealized gains, and Canada is licking its lips at that idea. So, oh my God, really? Well, approved it. Is it law, or they approved it in one section of their legislature? Is it literally law yet? I don't know. But yeah, man, what the fuck are you doing in Australia? You're a dumbass. Or you Canadians, what the hell are you doing in Canada? Just talked to one of my buddies. He got the hell out of Canada, lives in Bulgaria, loves it. He's like, thank God. In the opening of yesterday's stream, you seemed very emotional about your life transitions. Why is the concept of life transitions matter so much for you? Because that's how you improve, and that's how you achieve great things, is through transitions. The only way you can achieve great things is by transitioning and killing your former self and replacing your former self with a new version of yourself. As I've said many times, if you just want to lose 20 pounds, that's not a transition. You can just lose 20 pounds. If you want to increase, if you make 80,000 a year and you want to make 92,000 a year, that's not a transition. That's fine. But if you make 40,000 a year and you have a job, you want to make 300,000 a year as your location dependent business, you're going to have to go through some transitions. The only way you can do it. That's why it's important. What's your opinion of running a webcam or OnlyFans business like Tate did? I have no opinion. Go ahead. I wouldn't be in the United States. You could be thrown in jail for that shit. Yerba mate is an ingredient used to make tereré. Tereré. I don't like tereré. And I drink it here in Paraguay to be polite with people because everybody fucks drinks it in their cars. And I go, the other day I was with someone and she's like, tereré? I'm like, All right. And it wasn't as bad as last time. Her today was pretty good, but still like, whoa. It's just such a sharp flavor for us Westerners because you're not used to it. And then they laugh at you. They go, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, I'm not a TED person and I'm not into that stuff. Sorry. Never mind. It was in a spam. Please check your spam. That's a pet peeve of mine. You've been using email for 25 years. I didn't get the email. Did you check your spam? Oh, yeah. I should probably check my spam. You've been using email for 25 years. Has it occurred to you to check your spam if you're missing an email? Stupid. I live in Germany. I know. That's funny. Okay. Can I construct my business in English and market to other countries? Absolutely. You say I never drink coffee. Correct. But you try to avoid caffeine and other stuff like, yes, caffeine is drugs. I don't do drugs. Caffeine is a drug. It's a performance-enhancing drug. Not going to take it long-term. Just because societal programming accepts certain drugs does not mean they are good for you. Weed is considered normal now in the United States because everyone's so stressed. Is it good to smoke weed all the time? No, it's not good for your health. Sorry, it's not. And if you're under 25, it's really not. If you're over 25, it's not. You're blowing smoke into your lungs. But everyone does it. My doctor said, your Western doctor said, everyone drinks coffee, so it's okay. Yeah, your Western doctors. No, I don't do drugs. If you want to do drugs, go ahead. I'm a libertarian. I think they should all be legal. I think heroin should be legal. I'm a minarchist libertarian. Unlike Trump supporters, I don't like big government. You should do any drugs you want. Keep them away from me. Keep them away from my kids. Well, my kids are older now. Now they can do whatever they want. When my kids are little, keep away from my kids. Other than that, I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing it. Getting message from car trade. Yeah, we're having trouble with our payments. We're working on it. Why is managing our emotions so important when we're in life transition? Because if you don't manage your emotions, you'll crumble and you'll quit. ChatGPT says, okay, I need 700 to 1,000 live cheaply per month in Paraguay. It's wrong. Is it worth paying $250 a month for a U.S. LLC service where they provide the address, accounting, legal service? If you're Canadian? Yes. Well, I don't know what your goals are. Depends. Podcast, John Sumnez, when? I don't know. He does monogamy. You don't. It'd be an interesting discussion. Yeah, we've had that discussion at some point. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. I don't know if I'm doing live streams next week. Don't know. I know I have 2 scheduled. I might cancel them. This might be the last one I do I'll still do them every month. So I don't know. So maybe next week you'll see YouTube videos from me that are actual recorded videos instead of live streams. I don't know. Maybe I'll do one more week and then do something special next week and then convert. I don't know. I haven't decided, but we'll see. All right. Cool. Have a good one. Bye.